to our meetings here. We start the day here with a meeting of the salary board first. We'll open with that. Today is June 8th, 2023, point hour 9:30 has arrived. So we'll get started with salary board. So we'll call that meeting to order and begin with a roll call of members present.
Commissioner Eichelberger, Commissioner Fasci, I'm here. Commissioner DiFilippo, Controller Wickham.
Here. Okay, very good, thank you. At this point, we have public comment availability for any issues regarding salary board. Let's see anything. So we'll move on to item 4. We have the minutes at hand of May 25 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 25.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. If there's no comments or corrections, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, that brings us to the approval of the salary board actions.
I'll make a motion to approve all the salary board actions except the public defender's office.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my mistake. I had it on not salary board, mine was something else.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'll make a motion to approve all the salary board.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. So we won't be left out after all. The all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, that moves us to other business for the salary board. There being nothing, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Stand adjourned. Moving to the Board of Commissioners meeting, opening with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Call the meeting to order. Begin with a roll call of members present, please.
Commissioner Eichelberger,
Present.
Commissioner Fasci, I'm here. Commissioner DiFilippo.
Present.
All right, excellent. Okay, that brings us to the opportunity for public comment on non-agenda items. One was you address.
We have one online by phone
Okay.
with the number 717-241-4201.
4201 is the end 4 numbers of that call. If you wish to address the board, now's your opportunity. I ask you to identify yourself by name and any affiliation you have or where you reside if you're resident. Okay, no indication of comment and no hand raise or anything like that?
No, they actually left the call.
They left the call. Okay.
I have no other further member.
I don't know if they're missing out. Okay, very good. With that, we'll move on. And we do have a special presentation today. We have 2 of our public safety individuals who are going to receive recognition for some stellar work that they've done. Bob, did you want to take the lead on?
I can start for you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so. All right, come on up.
Good morning, everyone. We have with us Matt Brennan and Emma Reinhardt, 2 of our telecommunicators. Sorry.
That's okay.
We weren't expecting you to.
Okay, good. Everybody good? Certainly, I can't say enough about the work the telecommunicators do really on a daily basis, providing safety link to the responders, processing calls, radio communications, and all the work they do on a regular basis. But today we want to recognize 2 that have went certainly above and beyond in 2 calls that they did. And really at the end of the day, when people call 911, they want a trained person there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Someone that's trained and calm that can process your call and get help really on the worst day of your life. So with that, in 1993, we started medical dispatch protocols to provide instruction to callers, childbirth, choking, CPR, and things like that. And with that, we developed the Stork Club. We've delivered 31 babies since 1993 successfully over the phone, and had several different saves, lifesaver saves. With that, we provide a lifesaver pin. So with Matt, on June 28th of 2022, Matt received a 911 call for an 11-week-old infant not breathing in South Middleton Township. He routed the call for dispatch, and then provided instructions to the caller, and actually was able to revive the child prior to EMS arrival. So with that, we are presenting a lifesaver pin to Mac. And I know you have a full.
That's fine.
There's your pin. And then on April 20th, Emma Reinhardt received a call from a male unresponsive in the street in Upper Allen Township. Using the protocols, determined the patient had agonal breathing, began CPR instructions while routing the call for dispatch. Emergency responders arrived on the scene, administered a successful shock with an AED, and revived the patient. So congratulations, Emma, for your work there. And I'll let you go with the.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll say this much. It's a privilege and an honor for the commissioners to participate in this. We have a lot of responsibilities, yes, but there's nothing we do that is more important than saving lives. By definition, it's a major responsibility, and it's something that we have a responsibility for. Helping Bob mention about the availability of people to answer those calls. That's a requirement, okay, and it's one we embrace because it just doesn't get any better than saving a life, especially a newborn. So we want to recognize that the pin you gave the pins. We do have a resolution for each of you. So that's on tape. We have a recognition, proclamation for each of you. I'm not going to read these because Bob already told you about the incident, and that's basically what this does. But it's just, I'll just sum it up with each of these is it mentions it's with extreme appreciation that Cumberland County Board of Commissioners recognizes and commends each of these individuals for dedicated service to the citizens of Cumberland County. And presenting both this day, 8th of June, 2023. So Emma, I'm going to give you yours. Yes. And Matthew, here is yours. It's a great pleasure to recognize both of you for this. And I think we're gonna do a group photo. And I'm going to suggest something as well. This is a special day for a lot of family members too. We try to also make an opportunity. So if we'll take a little time, if no one objects to it, so that you can have family members come up and have your photo taken with individuals and, all together or however you want to do it. So it's a special day. We want to treat it as such. So, but let's get a group photo.
Can we all come together and come a little closer here? Can we hit the spotlights? Okay, move a little closer here. To the front, to the front.
To the front.
Yeah, to the front. Okay, give me a smile. And let me just change that. One more time. Okay.
Very good. Okay.
Congratulations.
Let's do some picks if we can. Yeah. So anybody, family members want to?
Come on.
You all okay with doing it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks great. Give me a smile. Okay, great. Second family? Just a little bit so we're directly underneath. Great. Smile. And one more. Perfect, thank you.
You guys.
Hold on.
Please.
Sorry, just.
There you go.
Okay.
Please. Okay.
Good. Thanks, Bob.
It's not a base for the
It is nice to put it. You're a first responder family then.
That's it.
Good. Thank you for being a firefighter.
I should say Dad. I ran calls with Dad. When Dad would run the calls in Shippensburg from the funeral home
Many years ago.
many years ago.
Wow.
So,
Well, thank you.
yeah, a lot of years of service.
Nice.
Love seeing that when it runs in the family. Okay, excellent. We've got a lot of business. If any of you want to excuse yourselves now, that was the exciting part of the meeting, frankly. Dull here on out, so, typically. So anybody who wants to leave now, be your chance. If you want to hang around, you're certainly welcome. Not you, more than you have to stay. No. Okay, I understand. Okay, very good. That brings us to the consent agenda, and at this point, turn everything over to the Chief Clerk and COO.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Hello, everyone. The next section of the agenda is our consent agenda. These are routine items. They do not appear to be controversial, nor do they appear to require discussion. If anyone desires discussion on agenda items 5 through 8, now would be the time to make that request. All right, hearing none, seeing none.
We have a motion.
Yeah, move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The next section of the agenda is the regular agenda, and these will be discussed one by one. And I'll start with agenda item number 9, which is discussion and approval of a letter of support for Upward Broadband. And I'll call on Rob Troxel, who is the Director of Business Development at Upward Broadband.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. We appreciate your time this morning. Going to let our CEO and owner, Tim Byler, give a brief description of who we are as Upward and the type of technology we're using. Then I'll talk about what our plan is to help Cumberland County.
Good morning, Commissioners. Appreciate the time this morning. I'm Tim Byler, one of the co-owners of Upward Broadband. We founded Upward Broadband in 2019, about 4 years ago. And the reason we started the business was because we saw the need in rural areas, excuse me, for better broadband service, especially where there was no cable company. So we're headquartered in Lancaster County, and in our own neighborhoods, we saw when you get out of the towns and the cities and the suburban areas, you know, the only service available was DSL, which was becoming increasingly unreliable for today's needs. So that's why we launched. We started did a 5-tower network. We did with our own funds, 2019 into 2020. And then since then have had a series of awards with public funds, much of them in the Huntington and Fulton County region. And so Cumberland County sits kind of right in the middle between several of our networks right now. And we're really seeing the need, especially in the western part of the county, in Cumberland County for improved broadband. So the technology we use is called fixed wireless. So similar to mobile wireless, except the points are fixed. Okay, so it's not designed to support handheld devices that are moving down the road, so to speak. It's just like we use the wireless for that last mile rather than a wireline solution. And then our customers have an indoor router, you know, just like they would from a wireline provider. So we see that filling many of the gaps that have been left behind by wireline providers just due to the sheer difficulty and economics of getting internet into the rural areas. So we appreciate you taking the time to consider this today. Back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Tim. Our plan in Cumberland County is to apply to the Pennsylvania Broadband Development Authority under their capital project funds, which is an application process that is open until July 10th. And we plan to apply to put equipment on 10 towers in Cumberland County that would serve Cumberland County. 4 of those would be new tower builds. And we believe that this fits in with your plan and with the authority's plan to bring about universal broadband coverage throughout the state of Pennsylvania, we're not asking for funds from the county. We're asking for a letter of support. Our preliminary estimates show that this would benefit approximately 10,000 unserved households within Cumberland County. So we are requesting a letter of support from the commissioners to submit along with our application, which will carry significant weight in that application and strengthen it for the Broadband Authority to hopefully award us funds to help Cumberland County.
Any questions, commissioners?
Bob, I had one question, and my understanding is that fixed wireless really is a line of sight technology because it's coming from the tower, and they have to. So if you have trees or anything, it's not going to work for you. Do we have an estimation of how much of the county will still remain? I'll say underserved, not necessarily unserved, because DSL is still around. But do we have an idea of once you proceed with this successfully, and I'm confident you will? Do we know where we stand as a county then in terms of total penetration for broadband?
Yeah, I'd say we at Upward do not have an idea of what the total number of unserved are and how many would remain unserved. I don't know if anybody within the county would have information on that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I heard there will be 4 new towers built.
That's
Hey,
correct.
Bob, Shively, does that have any impact with P25, our project?
I don't believe so. We've been talking about whether or not something in lambs could be used. So, but that also requires like the third party, like with the game commission or DCNR.
I just wondered if we could work together to help each other out, if that's a possibility with our project, their project.
Right.
So the 4 towers are new builds, but the other 6 are what? Just a combination of existing towers of
I don't know
ownership.
I don't know which they are yet.
Okay. I'm
I
sure
know there was some discussion about the Lamb's Gap site. That was the only one I knew.
All right. A lot of that's probably still to be determined. I don't have any further questions on anybody else.
I do. Keith, would this letter prohibit us from writing a similar letter of support from any other companies that would come forward between now and July?
No, we haven't done.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions, we can act on this today if possible. So I'll entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the letter of support regarding an application submitted by Upward Broadband LLC to the Pennsylvania Broadband Development Authority.
I'll second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask, we are also planning to apply to some neighboring counties of yours, which would have benefit into Cumberland County. Would we be able to count on you for letters of support on those applications as well? Or is that a separate matter?
It doesn't crowd signal in any way, so is there any downside for us, Bob? If we
That would just be a matter of you supporting the other counties doing a similar letter.
I think he wants a letter from us for other sites as well.
I think we'd need to have more
I agree.
information. That's my personal opinion. I'd like to have more information before I would agree to a letter.
Okay, we can certainly provide you with that. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you,
And I
Commissioner.
would just add, just follow that same process with the request for this, and we'll certainly get that information to the commissioners and work out that process.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us then to agenda item 10. I'll call on Paul Flensky, who is on Zoom with us to discuss and request approval to receive a donation.
Good morning.
Paul.
Good morning. So I'm asking for approval to accept a donation from Mr. Matthew Books, who is a graduate of Treatment Court. He's sent us $250. He had done this previously in November and it was approved. And our intent is to apply it toward graduation costs.
Questions for Paul?
I'll make a motion to accept donations from Matthew Brooks for Cumberland County Treatment Court in the amount of $250.
I second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item number 11 is discussion and request approval for the Commissioner's Office to receive a donation from Carl Walmart. I'll call on Angela Smyser to discuss.
Thank you, Stacy. As our office oversees the mailroom, we were contacted by the Carlisle Walmart. They had an excess supply of cases of bubble mailers that they didn't want to have sitting around or fuss with having to return after they ordered them, and they wanted to give back to the community. So they reached out to see if we'd be able to put them to use. And we don't necessarily use the padded ones, but there's no additional cost for using those compared to regular ones. So that'll save us some orders from Office Depot for sure. So we are very gracious for that donation. And if you guys don't have any questions, we would like you to accept
I have
it.
one question. Is there any restriction that would keep us, like you said, there's some of those materials we don't necessarily use? Can we take possession of them and provide them to a third party, such as a nonprofit that might put them to good use? Mr. Solicitor?
I do not know.
I'll have to look at that. You have a very extensive policy on
Okay.
how to dispose of items that are unused, whether or not they have value.
Yeah, I believe some of our departments that use that size envelope are going to utilize these, and they'll just be padded versus just a regular envelope. So we do have plans to use them. We made sure we'd be able to use them before we accepted the donation. So
That's- Any other questions? For not entertaining.
I will move to approve the donation to the Commissioner's Office of bubble mailers from the Carlisle in the amount of $129.04.
Second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
thank you.
All right, agenda item 12 is discussion and approval of resolution 2023-13, which is to urge the Pennsylvania General Assembly to reauthorize Chapter 53 of Title 35 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes with 911 surcharge to increase to support next generation 911 system across the Commonwealth. Commissioners, I'm not sure who was going to take the lead on that discussion.
Not sure. Can't do that either.
We've been asked by CCAP to weigh in on this issue. So, I don't know if that leaves anybody with questions. But, Bob, is there anything you wanted to add in on this?
Certainly reauthorization of the 911 fee is critical for our funding and revenue. We're due to sunset in January of 24. I know it is a priority for trying to get reauthorization with the budget cycle here in June. So there's been several figures, but CCAP believes with inflationary costs, the $2.30 per device, $2.30 per device is the best amount to continue to sustain the current funding needs, especially with the transition costs to next generation 911 call handling. So I think that's where we're at, and kind of recommendation letter there would be helpful.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think
Resolution, I'm sorry.
it's pretty clear.
Mhm.
We need to do here.
Very clear.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2023-13, which is urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to reauthorize Chapter 53 of Title 35 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes 911 surcharge to increase to support NG 911 system across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I second that motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Commissioners, I'm going to turn the next section of the agenda over to Angela.
Great, thank you, Stacy. All right, moving on to agenda item 13, I'm going to call on Jamie Riber to discuss the contract addendum for children and youth. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. This is an addendum to our current contract with the Impact Project, which provides specialized foster care for our older youth. We are adding a supervised apartment living level for youth that are over 18 and have completed other treatment levels. And they're now living in an apartment on their own with very minimal supervision, getting themselves ready to actually go out on their own. It's $72.60 a day. It's actually much less than most of our foster care placements are, and it's below the state maximum allowable. So we would like to add that to our contract. Any questions?
I will move to approve the Impact Project and contract addendum for children and youth as discussed this morning by Jamie Ryder.
Second. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. All right, I will now call on Kirk to discuss the contract for the Commissioner's Office in coordination with planning.
Can I see that? I'm sorry. Can I see that?
The agenda?
Yeah, is this UGI?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah. Good. I wasn't sure if there's something else on there. I was just.
This way.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. So, Commissioners, as you're aware, we've been working with UGI Energy Services over the past several months. They're located in a liquefied natural gas facility on a landlocked property that is adjacent to our county-owned property. They've approached us about a permanent access road easement across our property to be able to access, construct, and operate their LNG facility. We've worked with them on a number of terms of the agreement of how the road would be constructed, what it looks like, maintenance responsibilities. I think we've had a good process over the past several months to get to the point where we're at. The proposal has been approved by Middlesex Township in preliminary plan format. They're closing in on the final plan approval. With that final plan approval, then UGI Energy Services has prepared a permanent access road easement agreement to be executed between them and Cumberland County. The agreement has been shared with our solicitor. I've looked at it. We've had engineering review through our county engineer HRG to look at this. What we're asking the board today is for approval of the access road easement agreement. We would hold our actual signature and execution of this until we see the final plan, to make sure that the final plan does progress through Middlesex Township and receive its appropriate approvals. I did ask Heath Carney from UGI Energy Services to be at the meeting today. I believe he's still online. There's Heath. So if there's any questions that the board has, particular to the agreement or with UGI Energy Services, Heath would be available to answer those.
Any questions for Heath?
If I may, so you're asking for the board to approve execution of the agreement subject to final plan approval at Middlesex Township?
That's correct.
Gotcha. Read my mind.
Yeah, this
Do we need action on it then today if there's no further questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract of the UGI Carlisle LNG LLC contingent on Middlesex Township's final approval of the plan.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right.
That's it. Thanks for being.
That's it, right?
That is it.
That's good.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item 15, I will call on Brent Durham to discuss the contract for facilities.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're asking your approval to enter a 5-year agreement with Schuler and Schuler. This is a lease agreement at the property at 1901 State Street in Camp Hill. It's our MPJ Beckley property. The 5-year total amount for the contract is $269,520. This is an increase of $590 per month. The lease rate has not changed down there since 2010. So the 590 is about a 15% increase over that time frame. Now, we currently are in a month-to-month lease agreement with them. We've been in that agreement since 2015. The reason that I'm suggesting that we go to a 5-year lease agreement is it provides some protection to the county that's not in place now. Number one, the the landlord has the opportunity to raise the lease amount at any given time right now, whereas the 5-year agreement would lock him in. The other thing is the termination clause in the month to month states that either party can terminate the lease at 120-day notice. With the 5-year agreement, the county retains that opportunity, but the landlord loses the right to terminate the lease.
Okay, so we're not foregoing the continued locational search.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
At this point, I think end of January, I've looked at 6 properties. I reached out to the realtor just the other day where that search is continuing.
Okay. So we just have the 120 days, did you say?
It'd be 120 days, yeah.
Right. Any other questions? We have a motion.
I will move to approve the Schuler and Schuler contract for facilities management.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And Brent is also discussing our next agenda item, which is a capital project request for an elevator replacement.
Yeah, so this capital project request for your approval is for the modernization of the front elevator at Dennis Marion Building. We're estimating the cost of that modernization at $100,000. The project has been on our 10-year plan for quite some time. I think we entered it in 2018. So this has been in the works for some time. We currently are experiencing frequent issues with this elevator. We've had seven issues so far this year and 19 within the last year and a half. Now, the issues are not safety related issues. They're more inconvenience. The cars, when it sits for a period of time, is going into a locked out position and just not running. So, but for these reasons is why we're asking approval for this project. We also are proposing to use ARP grant money for this project.
Other questions?
Look in here, Brent, looks like there's a $500,000 county grant program, or you're requesting $100,000. What's the other $400,000?
I have other elevators in the works.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you. I'll make a motion that we approve the capital project request for facilities management for the Dennis Marion Building elevator replacement with total project cost of $100,000.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Brent.
Great, and thank you, Brent. He's also discussing our next agenda item in conjunction with Ward and Shane.
So this capital project request is for the prison we would like to replace one chiller and repair one chiller that they have down there. Now they have 2 chillers that provide most of the AC for that building, for that facility down there. Each chiller has 2 large compressors, and the compressors are really the heart and soul of the chiller. The one chiller has a compressor that's not working. The other compressor that is working, we had a winding test done. The insulation is showing in poor condition. So that second compressor, failure is imminent. We also found metal shavings within that unit. So that means that the condensing coil has been compromised, the evaporator, and that's the chiller that we are suggesting replacing. The second chiller has 1 compressor not working, and 1 compressor that showed poor again on the insulation test. Everything else seems fine with that compressor or with that chiller. So that's why we're recommending just repairing by replacing the 2 compressors of that chiller. Again, this total request is $235,000, of which $150,000 we are proposing using ARP money, grant money, and the other $85,000, I believe it is, will come from the budget.
Questions?
How quickly will you be able to get this work done?
That's a great question. The 2 compressors that we can get in 2 to 3 weeks for the chiller that we're repairing. The chiller that we are replacing is a 40 to 45 week lead time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I see 1 compressor is bad, not running. How hot is it in the prison?
You're currently still at the same, we're running 72.
Okay.
Air conditioning is working. There are complaints yet.
Okay, all right.
When they did the second phase of construction down there, they added some secondary chilling
Okay,
down there. So they do have backup if these chillers fail.
thank you. That's good.
What's the contingency if that one fails before the replacements?
Like I say, they don't mind.
But
I was gonna, I know I was
Entirely
actually
so.
not the joke. I wanted to break.
Right.
We do, and I would give with my Ryan and stuff. I know we do have a contingency plan. I cannot give that to you at this moment. And what I would do is I would forward that to you, sir.
The reason I ask is because when we did the renovation, we did essentially phase 2 and phase 3 we combined into a single phase. So there's an extra capacity down there for, beds. And so I would assume that we could probably shift people around or something. I'm sure that's on your.
We could, as you also know, sir, that we have the one section that's not being used. So the air conditioning obviously is not going to be at that same level down there. So we're taking precautions to make sure that we get the utmost efficiency out of the chiller that we have now.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Sounds like you got it well in hand. Okay, Brent, I do have a question. So the problems that you mentioned about the shadings and such with the unit, or is that just end of life stuff? Did it reach the age that we anticipated, or was that perhaps a lack of maintenance issue?
Chillers typically have at least a 20-year lifespan. These chillers were installed in 2011, 2012. So it's not an end of life issue. It's also, I don't believe, a preventive maintenance issue as well. We have a contract in place with a vendor that we've had since those chillers were installed. That vendor comes in, I think, 3 or 4 times a year.
Okay.
Just to confirm, in all probability, something in the compressor left loose.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions.
I will move to approve the capital project request for the prison for chiller replacement and repair with a total project cost of $235,000.
Second. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right.
Now you get.
I was gonna give you my notes. I was like, yeah, it's gonna roll.
All right. Moving on now, I will call on Travis to discuss a grant application for the prison.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Angela. The Bureau of Justice, in conjunction with ICE and the Department of Homeland Security through SCAP, the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, provides federal payments to state and local prisons that incur correctional officer salary costs for incarcerating undocumented criminal alien with at least 1 felony or 2 misdemeanors convictions for violations of state and local law and are incarcerated for at least 4 consecutive days during the reporting period. So as you'll see on your paperwork, it is a decrease, and basically the reason for that is we've had less undocumented aliens coming through the prison. And so that's why you see the decrease. That's about on average we're anywhere between 20, 22,000, but this year obviously we're a lot lower. So that's why you see the decrease in that.
And we simply don't house anyone who's federal.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Okay, any additional questions? One take motion.
Make a motion to approve the Bureau of Justice Assistance State Criminal Alien Assistance Program grant application of $14,000 for the prison.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Moving on to agenda item 19, I believe Sue Carball is joining us via Zoom, and she'll have some assistance from Robin. Hi, Sue.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Hi, Robin. So the contracts this morning, the first 2 contracts are intellectual and developmental disability contracts. The first one, Focus Behavioral Health, is a new contract for this fiscal year. It is for in-home and community supports. The contract will be in the amount of $4,277. The Riverside Associates contract is an amendment for fiscal year 22-23. It's an increase of $5,000 for additional services, and that brings our contract to $8,000. Robin, do you want to do the Maranatha one?
Sure. We're entering into a contract with Maranatha Carlisle for our social determinants of health contract with our Capital Area Behavioral Health Collaborative. That is funding that we were getting from the collaborative for a project specific for all 5 counties. But in our county, we're contracting with Maranatha to do the distribution of those funds.
Okay, and then the next contract for mental health is the Susquehanna software. It is a new contract for fiscal year 23-24. It's an increase of $2,400. So their full contract will be $36,000, and it is for the software maintenance and support for CPR Web, MA eligibility, SC tracker, etc. And then the long list of contracts are for early intervention, and they are new for fiscal year 23-24. So we'll just start through them here. Barbara Weber, her contract is for speech therapy. And I'll just say again, they're all new for fiscal year 23-24. So I won't say that again. So Barbara's contract will be started at $5,997. Central PA Therapy Connections will be for occupational and speech therapies. Their contract will be for $45,054. Communication Beginnings will be for speech therapy. $5,000 will be their total. Connections, Early Intervention and Supports will be for occupational, physical, and speech therapies, as well as special instruction. Their contract will be for $39,308. Feeding Little Bellies is for nutrition support. Their contract will be for $44,321. International Service Center is language interpretation. Their contract will be for $2,500. Jennifer Snyder is a physical therapy contract. It'll be for $34,172. Jill Bricker is a special instruction contract. It will be for $117,604. Kimberly Snowden, her contract is for speech therapy. Contract total will be $54,979. Nicole Custer will be for occupational therapy. Contract total will be $28,361. Pediatric therapy specialist at South Central PA. It's for occupational, physical, and speech therapies and special instruction. The contract total will be $58,488. And Soviet therapy will be for occupational, physical, and speech therapies, as well as special instruction. Contract total will start at $190,336. So all these contracts, when we start our contracts, they start where the provider ended up in the previous fiscal year. So we will probably be back to see you for additional authorized services and increases to these contracts. Any questions?
Gonna ask that question, Sue.
Sure.
I was gonna ask about that. I thought that the some of the decreases were, I wondered about some of the decreases, and you've explained it. Thank you.
Okay.
Looking for approval.
I will move to approve the contracts for MHIVD as listed at item 19 on the agenda, with those contracts being for intellectual development disabilities for fiscal year 2022, mental health for fiscal year 2023, and early intervention fiscal year 2023.
Second. Okay, it's moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much,
you.
ladies. Agenda item 20, I will call on Bob Shively to discuss the contract addendum for public safety.
This is our yearly renewal for the CenturyLink fiber connection for internet to the public safety building. The grant term is from September 30th of 2023 to September 29th of 2024 for a total cost of $12,600. That is a yearly increase of $240.
Any questions for Bob?
Looking for action on that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the contract addendum for Century Link in the amount of $12,600.
A second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I will now turn the meeting back over to Stacy.
Okay, and I will ask Bob to continue with agenda item 21, which is discussion and request for approval of a capital project request for the 911 SkipNet phone system.
Okay, this is for the SkipNet phone system replacement procurement. SkipNet is the South Central Intercounty Phone Network. It is a collaboration between Adams, Franklin, Dolphin, and Cumberland. This is our next step in the scheduled life cycle of our current 911 phone equipment. It is in concert with the PEMA statewide call handling for next generation 911. From our previously approved intergovernmental agreement, where we entered into the SkipNet 4-county agreement, we advertised a regional request for proposal. We received 8 proposals. With that, the executive groups narrowed that down to 4 proposals. They have pending demos coming up with the 4 proposals, but in discussions, we went to the capital committee to make sure we had a capital project for our portion of the equipment. The capital project you're seeing is a not to exceed. That is the amount for the highest RFP for the 4 counties collectively, $5,503,920. We would be responsible for approximately a quarter of that cost, which would be prorated based on our equipment specifically. So with the size of our county, we may pay a little bit more than the quarter, but again, depending on the specific RFP, that's prorated by equipment, seats, positions, calls, things like that. We did receive $815,922 in grant funding from PEMA for the project out of the 15% funding. So our county impact right now is looking potentially worst case would be $400,000 out of our 911 funding. So, and I guess full disclosure with our overrunning our 911 funding, it could impact subsidy.
Questions for Bob?
Just a question for Keith. Keith, the way the potential motion is written here, is that accurate? Our cost is going to be considerably less than that.
Our cost will be considerably less.
Bob, do you have a estimated potential cost for the county? Just give the highest if you can, instead of the 5 million.
Well, we should be a fourth of that. So, well, it could be a little more than a fourth. About not to exceed 2 million.
Are you comfortable with your math?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it won't be that much.
But I think that's the best we can do at this point.
Yeah, I'm easily, as far as the county, like I said, I think we're in the $200,000 to $400,000 range. Once we use the $800,000 grant money. But we'll still need to do a formal approval, and that'll come back. I mean, that will come back as a final grant or final agreement for the purchase. It'll be a 4-county. See, I don't know what we need to approve money-wise. We talked about that at the capital meeting because the 4-county contract is going to come back for a regional 4-county approval of maybe 5 million, and here's each county's portion. So I don't know if that matters.
You're comfortable with not to exceed 2 million?
Yeah, for our portion. Yeah, easily.
So
I'm kind of uncomfortable with changing what is on this agenda
I get you too.
at this point in time, because the total project cost is this 5 million. Change. And you said you're coming back, right? You'll have to come back with some clarification on this. But,
You have to approve the contract
yeah,
itself.
and so the total project cost is this amount.
How about we add, which includes the counties that are included? That way, I would feel better if that was included. We can only keep the amount. Sure.
That's fine.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. So if there's no further questions, all in favor, give me a say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners. Next, agenda item 22, we have discussion and request for approval, capital project request for the district attorney's office, FID. We should have Eric Radovich online. There he is. To
Hi, good morning,
discuss the
commissioners.
project.
The project before you is a capital request for $31,095 for Gray Key, Gray Shift. It is our #1 software hardware program that we use in the computer forensic lab to track iPhones and forensic investigations.
Any questions for Eric?
And I'll make a motion to approve the capital project request for the DA's office for a gray shift with a total project cost of $31,095.
I second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. If there's no further questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Our last capital project discussion and request for approval is from the Public Defender's Office for a new case management system, and we have Michael Halkias here to discuss.
Our current case management software, UCM, is being phased out by the end of this year. We have, I've looked at a few different software options. We've decided to go with BTM. They are a software company that's already being used by the county, by adult probation and the district attorney's office. We also had other counties that public defender's office there use them, and they're very happy with their services. The $57,500 is over the next 5 years, $9,500 I believe a year, and $10,000 this year for data conversion from our current system. So it goes over to the new case management software.
Any questions?
I will move to approve the capital project request for Public Defender's Office for a public defender case management system with a total project cost of $57,500.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll see Michael, I guess, at the next meeting, bringing the contract forward. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Okay, we'll move on then to agenda item 24, which is Commissioner's Liaison Reports, and I'll start by calling on Commissioner.
Okay, just briefly regarding recycling and waste management, the next household hazardous waste event is scheduled for the 17th of this month. Justin says they have 260 signups so far. There's 400 slots available. They're going to be pushing more communications out through Samantha and
Chris.
Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Sorry. But so they're going to be aiding in that. So we'll probably fill a lot of those slots. Continues to be a really well appreciated event by the public. That's proceeding, and Judd told me that e-cycling continues to, in his words, to amaze him. Just this week, yesterday and Tuesday, they had 76 customers, 4,978 pounds of recyclable material, putting us just shy of 110,000 pounds for the year so far. So that market continues to be very, very robust. Definitely a need for electronics recycling. So good news. Tribute to that program from the Recycling and Planning Office. Also, I did touch base with Annie. I think we're all in the loop on the current mental health IDD issues in regards to budget and such. So I won't go into a lot of detail there. She did mention to me that they are in the process now of receiving budgets from our service providers. So that will help them nail down some of the projections as we try to focus in on that moving target of what kind of deficit we're looking at. Obviously, the big variable on that is the state budget. So no news yet on when we're going to see progress on that, unless somebody else has information on that. That's it on the MH front at this point. Sue Carval, who we did the contracts earlier, but just mentioned that we had this project search intern graduation last Wednesday. In the new class, there are 6 members of the new class, and they will begin their rotations in September. So looking forward to that. Again, another very successful program. So that's all I have right now.
Commissioner Wilkie.
I would just remind everyone to use the Cumberland County Library System. School is cruising to an end, and certainly all of the library programs are up and running so that you can read all summer and get back to school in the fall without losing any knowledge. So that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner DiFilippo.
I have one report. On May 30th, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board met to look at potential revisions to the first-time homebuyer down payment closing cost assistance program guidelines, and the revision was made prior to the approval of the change. Potential buyers could not contribute more than $20,000 to closing costs and down payment. And what we found out through some investigation and some research is the average amount of down payment and closing costs needed for these properties is approaching closer to $30,000. So the decision was made to increase that limit from $20,000 to $30,000. And that's all I have for that board. We'll have 3 reports next meeting and it would include the Ag Board, Aging Advisory Board, and Housing and Redevelopment.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to report that an executive session was held on June 1, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. And then I'll ask if any other business.
I have other business. So I have received, last night I received a second email from a constituent asking about a countywide burn ban. Is that something that we would be doing? And so I see this person is saying that York County instituted a countywide burn ban. And Bob, I have done minimal research on this, but it looks like something has to happen with the fire chiefs or they have to make a request for it. But I am wondering if it's something that we want to consider.
I can defer to the solicitor, but I believe the last time, as long as the county burn ban code hasn't been changed, it requires a written recommendation from the district forester who needs to have recommendation from 10 of the fire chiefs. Well, it's 50% or a 10, whichever is lower. So for our instance, it would be 10 fire chiefs. We did have several municipalities. I know our last one was in 2016 when we did it countywide based on impact at the municipal level. Some were for it, some were against it. So it does create an impact for those that may have recreational activities or things where in a controlled setting, limited burning might be okay. So, at that time, we had thought that it was best to leave that to a municipal decision. Again, some areas see rain in the county, some areas don't. So it can be difficult geographically for widespread. If say Enola gets rain, but Shippensburg doesn't, the conditions are vastly different. So,
okay.
And then when we institute one, sometimes the length of the ban until it expires has been an issue because sometimes we get rain and again, agriculturally or for other reasons, burning might be important.
Okay.
So I know certainly it has been dry from a public safety standpoint. Certainly, if you could avoid burning, no burning would be good at this point. For the municipalities, you can check their web pages or we can probably post the list. Did we post the slide? Not yet. We can post a slide on the county page that lists the municipalities that have enacted their local ordinance burn ban to make it more convenient for people to see the list. We'll do that today.
Okay.
Procedural question. So on the, you say that the head of the process is essentially the fire marshal.
District forester.
District forester, okay, and they have to do the outreach apparently. Is that something, do they wait for us to request it, or do they typically, I'm not talking about now, just like,
Yeah,
but do they typically initiate that themselves, or do they look to others to initiate?
I think it varies. I think we could certainly have a discussion with them if the board was inclined to want to do one based on constituent
I'd
requests.
be interested in the opinion of the district forester at this point in time, especially with constituents reaching out and saying, hey, you know, could you do this? I would be interested in that, Bob. Finding out what the opinion is of the district forester. And then we'd also have to get the 10 fire chiefs. Okay. Thank you, Bob. Glad you were here. That's good.
Any other business to come before the board today?